How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Pixelated Thoughts podcast. We are continuing our push through almost every video game adaptation that we can think of. And today we're going to be talking about Uncharted. For those who don't know, this is a adaptation of the popular PlayStation franchise. This movie came out, 2022. It stars Tom Holland, Mark Wahlberg, and I think we're going to have I don't know, I'm pretty sure we're going to have like a, I don't want to say
There's
different.
a lot of
I don't want to say differing
illogical things
opinions. I
happening
don't want
in
to say
this.
I want to say differing opinions. I personally thought it was just okay, but I want to get Brad's thoughts first because Brad.
Oh, we know what he's going to
We're gonna
start
dive
with.
right in. Brad, what are we thinking about here? How do you feel about Uncharted? You guys haven't played the game, by the way, right? You guys have never played these games.
I've never played the game.
I've dabbled in a few of the entries. I've never completed one.
Look,
I played
the PS Vita doesn't count, bro.
I played the first one and then I played the PS Vita one. So
all right. What do you think, Brad?
Well, when you make a movie, or when you make an action movie about an action video game that tries to be an action movie, you just get a action movie-esque action movie with video game logic that makes no sense whatsoever.
He's actually, I mean,
the last 30 minutes of that movie just makes no sense whatsoever.
Dude, when they pulled the ships out, I was like, are you guys not measuring this? Like, how are you perfectly pulling that ship out without it swinging and hitting? You know, because I've done like cargo extraction at sea before, and I can tell you fucking well with the helo, like that shit is swinging across back and forth. There's no way.
You didn't know they've done this hundreds of times.
That was
they
so casual,
doing, bro.
What I want to do, we'll get to a logic drop in a bit. Jack, how did you feel about it after watching Uncharted?
It was all right. I mean, it was very, very unrealistic.
Yeah.
And I guess I've never played the video game, so how, in terms of realism, what?
Well, I mean, it's basically Uncharted is a you got to look at it more like Indiana Jones, you know, Nathan Drake, who is not in his 20s, you know, first is like you play him like when he's like probably early 30s starting out, and he's a treasure hunter. And what they did in the movie was that they pretty much took Uncharted 4, which is the final game in the series, and they took the story about like Drake and his brother trying to leave that orphanage or whatever, and they took that and then they pretty much like combined four elements of 4 and 3 together. Like the very first opening scene with the cargo plane, right? Them falling out, that's an Uncharted 3. It's like one of the biggest set pieces in that game. And so what they were trying to do is like combine a bunch of things to kind of hopefully see what sticks. And I think Brad and I talked about this. I think there's a bunch of miscasts here, right? My thing is just pointing at fucking Mark Wahlberg, right? I don't want to be a dick. Stop putting him in fucking video game adaptations. He did Max Payne. Absolutely awful movie. We are not watching that. That was one of the worst films I've ever seen.
Damn, that wasn't on the list.
Fucking terrible film. But the thing is like he plays Sully in a way where it's essentially just Mark Wahlberg. Like Sully in the game is very charming. He's a funny guy. He's like in his 50s and 60s, but he's essentially like comic relief, kind of like that, you know, a guy who's trying to guide Drake along the entire time. It's mostly like a solo story. But it's kind of weird seeing like Mark Wahlberg get so much screen time and then also play a character that seemingly contradicts Drake at like every turn. Like every time something happens, it's like, oh my God, you know, I know you miss your brother. And then he starts cracking a joke. And I'm like, this is a serious moment. And you're talking about your fucking cat or something randomly. So it felt like one of the most like plot convenient movies I've ever seen. You know, I don't mind Tom Holland being Drake. I don't mind them trying to capture a young Nathan Drake. That's completely fine. I think Tom Holland does a fine job. Essentially, it was just Peter Parker as Nathan Drake. I'm not, you know, that's all I kept thinking about. I think like Brad's not wrong though. Like it just goes to like video game mode at the very end, and there's just like a lot of like wonky shit happening.
Oh, straight up.
You know, I really feel like they wasted Antonio Banderas' character. Like, I thought he was actually an interesting villain, right? With like a decent arc going for him. I mean, it's obviously, you know, it falls under the trope of, you know, the slighted child who fucking loses his inheritance, and then his dad's like, in his way or whatever, but they kill the dad. And I'm like, okay, well, we'll see how he, progresses as we get to the end of the film. And then he just gets his throat slit, which I guess is like a shock value moment. Like, I guess that backstab you probably couldn't see coming if like Braddock didn't like telegraph every one of her moves. And she's also like, if I see that, if I'm a mercenary and I'm watching Braddock, who got her ass beaten at Papa John's by fucking Mark Wahlberg's character by Sully, I don't know if I want to follow you. I don't know if I was telling Brad before, I was like, so let me get this straight. She kills one of the most wealthy people in the world, and then you just assume operations. Like, that's not how the banks work, man. That's not how any of that works. It was like a random, like, we're doing this now. And I'm like, so the random Irish guy is just going to fucking take over with you? There's just a bunch of weird shit that was happening. It just felt like they were trying to build intrigue at like, what was it again, Brad? The Nicolas Cage movie? National
Treasure.
Like the National Treasure films, right? And then they just went like full on like Indiana Jones, but just throw a bunch of bullshit, right? That's the way I saw it, because
I agree with that.
Because the games are like, they're fun, they're cinematic, but there's like substance there. They're not just like trying to be as crazy as possible. There's like levels to it, and I feel like this one just was like, how do we hit these set pieces as quickly as possible? Yeah. How do we hit the story beats from the games? That type of stuff. So they kind of expedited a lot of things. Now, my thought process is that they're only doing that to kind of tell a more original story in the sequel, which has been confirmed is in development. That's what I think they're doing. But apparently, according to I think they did an interview with Ruben Fleischer, the director, where I think they're actually trying to find more set pieces from the games. And I'm like, that's cool, man, but you got to like tell a good story this time around, because it was just like the most random shit. Like characters like showed like
oh, it was a sloppy story.
Like Chloe just like randomly goes on the opposite side, but I'm pretty sure there was enough time for her to turn around and see all the chaos happening, right? When they took her out the coordinates. There's just so much shit happening that I was just like, it's okay. If you
how much of this of the movie story matched up with the game story? Or was it a completely separate story?
The orphanage section with Sam and Nate at the beginning. That's it.
Yeah. Okay.
Everything else is just like an original tale. And it probably would have been maybe included in like a video game, because, like I said, Uncharted 1, 2, and 3 are like Drake in his 30s. I think like 4 is he's 40 years old. But like 4 is where they first introduced Sam, right? Which, and because they're not connected stories in Uncharted, they're kind of like their own standalone stuff. You can do that. That's cool. But like, I felt like there were far too many moments in this where like, clearly Nate is pissed at Sully, but like, it's one of those moments where like, if you guys ever watched Fast and Furious, right? Where I think it was like 5 or something, where, Dom's getting yelled at. He's like, oh boy's like, I did it for you, Dom. I did it for you. We got to find Letty. Like, all right, man, let's go. Like, you guys just forgave each other within the heat of this moment, in like a couple of seconds. That's what it was. It was like a lot of like false emotional like build up to like go nowhere.
Right.
So I think that was like, my primary problem with like watching this. Like, they just couldn't figure out how they wanted to nail any like the emotional beats of the story. That's just me, Jack, what did you think there was anything redeeming? Like anything that you were just like, this is really cool, like just from the film and when you watched it?
How the ships looked. I mean, that's really it.
That was a dope scene. Like,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, the ships were really cool.
It just I thought the cargo scene was pretty cool too, except for like, Nathan just randomly going through a stealth mission, getting upset. Did you kill my brother? It's like, dude, get the fuck down.
Yeah. Shut the fuck up. Now, and Tadpole brought this up earlier while I was streaming. It's like, all right, who gets their foot caught in a cargo and then gets smacked in the face with a big ass cargo bag?
I want to talk about that too.
Doesn't get hurt.
So here's the thing. He leaps off. It was leaping off the car, right? It was like he leapt off the car.
No.
Then he hits that cargo box going 100 miles per hour. Okay. So if anyone's ever been in the military and you ever seen like an Air Force pallet with like their crates on it, like those things are fucking like hard plastic. You hit that at any type of speed, you're dead. So how did he not get knocked unconscious?
He didn't break
One,
his
yeah.
leg. Nothing.
And then he caught on, he just randomly grabbed the nets. And like that also kills like the any type of suspense there is, like, oh, he's not gonna get to the parachute in time. It's like, of course he is, dude. Like we all know where this is going. And then when they hit the water, there's no fucking way. There's no way they survive that. Like that was such a violent like collision. So it was one of those things where I was like, I wonder how people are gonna like, take it. I think like if you just shut your mind off, but I was kind of curious because you guys have never really played the games. So you guys don't have any connections with it, except for Brad, who played the PS Vita game, which is one of the best Uncharted games. Um, how did you guys feel about the movie as like a whole? Like, I'll ask Brad that. Brad, like going through the entire thing, what did you think was like the movie's biggest problem? And don't say Mark Wahlberg. That's my thing. I know you got a bunch of logic bricks. Don't fuck with me here.
Well, I mean, literally the last 30 minutes of the movie, none of that makes. Actually, the biggest part that made me mad when they were on the ships and he told Sully to go commandeer the helicopter. He
Right.
just starts climbing the ship, and then he's on the helicopter. He's literally just like,
Oh yeah,
he's
I
just
didn't even think about that.
like, did he just climb like 40 feet of chains unassisted with a backpack full of gold?
Oh, that had to be
Which
like
is probably heavy as fuck.
it's got to be like 80 pounds worth of gold too.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could climb the chain, but I mean, I don't know how you're gripping that a good 40 to 60 feet. It's, and then he popped an ollie with the plane. He jumped the one ship over the other ship. I was like, that thing would fall to shreds. Well, for one, the ships back then would have been absolutely decimated,
torn to
by now.
pieces.
Like,
Yeah, torn to pieces.
well, so one, those ships are not made to last long periods of time, and when you put it on an uncovered in a cave with a giant hole where it rains in the Philippines probably daily, it's just going to be disintegrated by the time they find this 500 years later.
Nah, bro, they made that good wood.
Somebody just parallel parked the fuck out of them.
They made that good wood with the. By the way, the anchors weren't down either. Isn't that weird? Like you think like the anchors would be down, but the anchors didn't drop to the end of it. And then also it didn't tear the fucking ship apart when like the anchor dropped as well.
Go drop, yeah.
And for some reason he kept like when the anchor snagged. I don't understand why he just didn't pull back up on the helicopter and like go backwards instead of like trying to pull it and it's like ripping the helicopter.
That was one of my favorite things too. I was like, man,
oh my God.
I was like, we're in a Looney Tunes moment right now. What the fuck is going on?
It's it's like an origin. So it starts with obviously like an origin story. Like it's just exposition completely. And then so when they first marketed this movie, I thought Mark Wahlberg was going to be the bad guy. I thought he was like going to be like the plot twist. He's actually the evil guy.
Right.
And then like halfway through the movie, I'm like, no, he's just a dick. Like he's just like not a nice person.
Yeah, no, he's
to Drake, but he's not the bad guy. Because Antonio Banderas showed up. I was like, okay, he would be a cool bad, and then he dies, and I'm like, well, all right, there's got to be like some other kind of like weird twist because maybe she's the bad guy, but she just like
she feels like more of an opportunist.
She's an assassin. Like she is just.
But
like,
also the way she talked to like Mark Wahlberg's character, I was like, well, maybe Mark was a bad dude before this, and he just ended up getting a heart of gold or some shit. Like didn't
what I was expecting to happen was like her and Wahlberg, like they're actually a team, right? It's like the whole thing was planned from the beginning to where she was going to infiltrate, the Enterprise, and he was just going to go steal all the gold, and then they're actually in it together. That's what I expected to happen at the end. I don't know if I was happy or sad by the end because it didn't happen. I'm like, well, at least I didn't guess it.
The ending was so rushed too. It's like, all right, kid, and then fucking Uncharted. I was like, that's how we're gonna do it. That's how, like, I know there's a mid-credit scene. I get that, but like the mid-credit scene practically tells nothing. It just sets up another adventure. Yeah. It really it tried to like string together everything loosely, right? The crosses, like every character, just like it. The writing was just not good, like in the slightest.
No.
Everything was like hanging on by a very loose thread, and you have
I
like some interesting conversations, like you're trying to get some type of depth, and then it's just like removed the moment like Mark Wahlberg's character opened his mouth. Like you can't have him come off as like this like shady kind of con man, and then have him care, and then shit on Drake, and then like
Yeah, he
have
was all over the place.
have Drake like, you know, I think Tom Harland tried to kind of convey like a serious character for the most part, right? But like a lot of stuff just like didn't make sense when like you would just like forgive a dude who like tried to fuck, who literally, you know, just betrayed you and lied to you and led you on the entire time. You know what I mean? It was just kind of a weird thing that just kept happening throughout the movie, especially near the end too. You know, the moment that like Drake found out that, you know, Sully betrayed him or like knew about Sam and shit like that, and then like they had that big exchange, but like the entire time like Sully came off as like an asshole. He was very sarcastic and shit, and then it was like, oh, now they're best friends at the airport. Like,
Yeah, right.
which what just happened here, you know? It was just one of those.
well, it's honestly such a drastic change because he goes, I'm finishing this because of my brother, but after that, me and you were done. It's like, what? Okay, so you're just going to forget everything that's happened to this point and just expect him to behave around, you know, billions of dollars worth of gold. It was just a weird.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
why I
know.
feel like if you look at it, if you've played the video games, like Nate, he's sarcastic but he's charming and he like has a heart of gold, right? He's just a treasure hunter. But like Sully's like a former Navy guy. He's fucking, you know, he's a pilot. He's very funny, charming. Like he knows about the criminal like business, but he's not like a complete douchebag. He's just a mentor. They completely kind of ruined that with the way Mark Wahlberg portrayed him, and I'm assuming it's just like how they wanted him to be. Like, hey, Mark, can you just be yourself
Yeah.
in the movie? We're cool with you just acting this way. And then they just kind of like, you know, once again, like I literally thought the Antonio Banderas thing was like, we could have really had a good villain, and then you
Right.
Oh
killed
yeah.
him. And then what? Not this is not to disrespect Brad, but Brad's not wrong. Like she's an assassin. You know, there's not much like outside of the, you know, potential intrigue between her and Sully. Like there's nothing else. And like when I talk about her betrayal and how they just all like randomly followed her, like you have to question a couple of things, like not just getting her ass beaten Papa John's, but the fact that Antonio Banderas' character hired Chloe and her at the same time, right? So clearly they didn't trust her to do her fucking job because she had failed before. You know what I mean? So if that was evident, like, why would you guys just like unanimously be like, yeah, let's go where the money is? Like, you're trusting a person who, like, you know, has failed multiple times and has gotten duped by two random treasure hunters.
Also, I think Chloe's character was highly underutilized in the
Yes,
movie.
dude,
Like she just disappears the
there,
last
like,
hour.
there's like they introduce her in Uncharted 2, and there's like a lot of cool like chemistry between her and Drake. Like, you know, what they always hint at like a previous relationship, all this stuff happening. And it's like really cool when they brought her up, when they brought her in Uncharted 2, and then she reshows again, I think like an Uncharted 4. Or maybe it was 3, but like it was like they have her own side story on Uncharted 4, and like she's fantastic in it. And so when they introduced her, I was like, okay, cool, we're gonna get like an origin story between those two. But it was like random betrayal. And then you know, she gets wrong coordinates and she just fucks off into the distance. Like to not resolve anything at the end, I think was like one of the most frustrating things. Like we didn't get like a little
Oh yeah, that was completely left open.
like we didn't get like a little hint at like where Chloe was pissed off or something, or at least she's like, well played, Drake, that type of stuff. I would have accepted that if they like shot to her, right? But then she just like went on some random boat in the Philippines somewhere. You know, we don't know if she survived. She could have gotten killed out there, like lacking fuel and shit. It was just like the weirdest thing. But she was an interesting character until they removed her. Like there was a lot of like forced relationship stuff. Like you were trying like you're expecting something, and then they're like, we're not doing that. You wanted National Treasure, Indiana Jones, have cartoon movie.
Also,
Let's have it.
the CGI was not the greatest in that. There were a few moments in that movie where I was like, "Ooh, that's just rubber." Like,
Oh, the
it's
yeah, the
just
Cargo plane stuff. Yeah,
the and so the there one of the people getting yeeted out of the airplane in the middle there. It was just like I was like that wasn't like that was very evident. And then the cargo plane, several scenes when they're going between the two, right when they're like jumping from one to the other.
Yeah.
There's one where the dude just like he just leaps.
Oh,
most of them he was like boom, and I'm like that's the Hulk. I don't. That's not a person.
Yeah,
I mean, that momentum makes sense, but the momentum of Nathan going forward towards the plane didn't make any sense. Like
No.
when he jumped off the last cargo box to jump back onto the plane, like what the fuck?
Yeah, like in a video game, it's like you can suspend your disbelief with stuff, right? As long as it's done well.
Oh, it's easy,
right?
Yeah.
As long as it's entertaining, like you can do it. But like with movies, you have to, we can't just pull Fast and the Furious shit where like they're jumping a car in between two towers in Dubai, right? And just expect them to perfectly land where they need to, that type of stuff. But like, you have to also establish that fact, like the type of movie it's going to be at the beginning. Right.
Oh, and they didn't do that.
You can't try to expect like some, sly kind of, action adventure movie and wait until like the last like 30 minutes of the film to delve into like a bunch of ridiculous bullshit. Like you can't do that. Like if you establish it early, we're like, okay, this is the type of film we're expecting. But you really try to make it like this treasure adventure type of trek across like a bunch of different countries, which is cool. Like that's, I'm cool with you trying to do what's that which one, the Da Vinci Code type stuff, man, that's fine. Whatever you want to do.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I mean, I get it. They're really good at pickpocketing, but I mean, there were some parts where it's like, how the fuck could that even happen? The scene where he had the bracelet, Nate had the bracelet in his pocket or something, and somehow Vic or Sullivan got it. And then the backpack scene where she got the cross, Chloe got the cross. Like that backpack was zipped.
Jack, before we got on, I talked to Brad about the Papa John scene, right? Just the gross like random. I'm in a Papa John's in Italy or something. I was like, okay, but the fact that like he shot at the glass, like which seemed like it was bulletproof, right?
Right.
But when he throws Braddock into it, it perfectly breaks.
Yeah.
Right.
Just shit. Well, the bullet softened it up.
Yeah, you softened it up.
Oh, yeah.
And the multiple hits with the chair. You know what I mean? Like that was like the one thing that was, like if you're gonna have wonky physics in a movie, in a live action film, at least kind of be somewhat consistent with the bullshit we're trying to watch, right? Also, I don't know if you guys watched when he took her down at the end, like when I think it was like she was on his shoulders and she fell. Dude, she ate shit so hard. I thought she died. I thought the stunt woman died. I was like, oh my God. Her neck snapped up, bro. I was like, oh shit.
Because he threw her over the counter. Like he fell over the counter and she went over him over the counter. And I'm like, yo, I don't care what kind of like elite assassin you are. You're not getting up from that. Yeah. You're just not.
Shout out to the stunt team for Uncharted. They pulled some really cool shit off, but like, damn, that one looked like you're dead, bro. Like at least get up bruised. You know what I mean? Just get up like nothing happened. Just shake it off and shit like a weird James Bond villain. You know what I mean? It's just one of those films where like I think if they had kind of stuck with like, because like in Uncharted in the games, you do have supernatural moments when they're going to like find these different like secret cities and stuff like that, and it's like that's really cool when they have these like big reveals. But here it's like we just have a bunch of people, like we have random pirates, like the payoff doesn't feel great. It's like, oh cool, like Drake just happened to find it. All right, man, 2 ships here. No big issues. He just happens to climb it without breaking anything. Yeah. Ends up seeing all the gold and shit. We're like, wow. I don't know.
Okay, so another sorry to cut you off. Another logic break. So Mark Wahlberg's character has been looking for this for over 10 years.
Yeah.
Right. He never got past the part of finding one of the crosses. He never thought to look for the church. Like he was looking for, he knew there was a tree, but it's like I get that you need both of the keys to continue the quest, but it's like for 10 years he's just looking for, he's not even trying to plan out. Like he has no second step after finding the keys. He's just like, he's like, Nathan, what do we do now?
He
I
didn't
don't know what we
have
did.
postcards being written to him. That's
Yeah.
why.
The postcard thing was so weird, dude. The postcard thing, I was like, okay,
Well,
sure.
how did he receive these postcards for how long? What, 10 years?
Yeah. Coming out of prison and
10
stuff like that.
years,
Yeah.
knowing that him and his brother had this
And his brother kept
huge
nailing it,
goal.
bro. His brother kept nailing the location, dude. I was like, this guy's good. If he's doing, like, you have to admit, if that dude's doing it from a fucking remote prison cell, I'm assuming in South America, he might be a god. Like, we might need to get that fucking dude out there. He might be able to find the Declaration of Independence. Goddamn.
Uncharted 2 is going to have some super logic breaks.
Oh, it's gonna have
Well, it being a Naughty Dog movie, I hope it's going to be a crossover where he finds Crash Bandicoot.
That'd be great. Dude, where's my, I was looking for my Crash Bandicoot stuff. That'd be amazing.
That would be funny.
I mean, because like when they showed up on the beach, they had Nolan North there, the actual voice of Nathan Drake. So when they're on the beach, he's like, yeah, something like that happened to me.
I was wondering if that was a cameo.
Yeah, that's Nolan North. Yeah, he is the voice of Nathan Drake. He's also the voice of like hundreds of other major video game characters.
He's the ghost in Destiny.
Yep, he's also Deadpool in the Deadpool games.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it was a very like shameful like cameo because he's like, oh, you fell out of a plane. I recently did that as well.
Yeah, it's something like that happened to me as well. It's like, brother, that was game 3, man. Like, fucking, that was not recent. All right, let's talk about how the games work, motherfucker.
Yeah. They did a bunch of cool little cameo like hints to Naughty Dog, or the video games in general, I guess. But
yeah, it's just one of those things where you're like, the other thing I didn't like about Nate's character is that he's an alcoholic. I'm assuming because he just liked all the fucking liquor he came across. I'm like, he's not like that in the game at all, which is kind of weird. But no, I think like if you were talking about like an origin film, like your first movie, I'm not saying that it's insulting, but it's like you kind of made a weaker, National Treasure film, right? Where you try to be as unbelievable as possible with the things you're doing. Like, yeah, okay, like maybe, like I can suspend my disbelief when it comes to like Drake and Sam being these like young, intrepid adventurers, like figuring stuff out because like you find out that their parents were kind of the same way, right? Yeah. Which is cool, man. Like I get that, but like we could have made a better origin movie where this guy who has like never been involved, where Nathan Drake, who's working at as a bartender, who's never been involved in anything like this, right? He's a pickpocket, like Brad said. Or Jack, you said that. He's a pickpocket. Yeah. Like somehow this dude's like the most athletic fucking person I've ever seen. They literally had a moment like when they were showing him like working out. I was like, oh my God, it's the Ben Affleck scene from The Town where he's just doing push-ups and pull-ups, looking extremely jacked. I'm like, they must have had like a they must have had like a cutoff for like how many scenes can we show Tom Holland without his shirt on? Let's check those fucking boxes,
Fan service, bro.
Yeah, let's get the fan service out. But it was just one of those things where I think like, outside of Mark Wahlberg, I think everyone did a serviceable job. I think they tried their best with what they had because
okay. I got a question for you.
Go ahead.
Since you just have this hate relationship with Mark Wahlberg, who would you rather play that role?
Do you remember I can't remember the actor's name, but he was in Avatar. You ever watch Avatar? The first like major Avatar? The Colonel. Like, by the way, they made a fucking fan film, which Jack wants to also dive into, of Uncharted, where they had Nathan Fillion and that guy actually play Nate and Sully. And it's
I'm telling you,
fucking fantastic.
People sleep on fan films.
It was fucking amazing. It was fucking fantastic.
When I first started watching the movie, I was like, I don't know if this is really Nathan Drake. I was like, but I honestly don't see anyone else playing. Like, there's not really a better person.
That's because they keep pulling up Tom Holland and everything.
Yeah. I guess the first person that came to mind was
should have been Kevin Hart, dude. They
missed
the boat.
The first person that came to mind was Zachary Levi, but I don't see him playing that like serious role. I really never really seen him play something. I say serious, but I mean, I don't know.
No, I mean really... it's I like I said, I don't mind Tom Holland being that character. I know that he's been trying. I know that I've seen him in other serious dramatic roles before. but it's one of those things where it's like,
which I've not enjoyed really any of Tom Holland's serious movies.
I just don't think they've written him. I just don't think they wrote him in a way where it's like he's a believable. Like we're not setting him up that way, right? And also,
right.
when they show Nate as a kid, and they transition to Tom Holland, that is not a good transition of like what, like, dude, you don't look alike at fucking all. They must have had like plastic surgery. Let's say he got into a hardcore car accident, right? He had to have facial reconstruction or have like a little Metal Gear Solid 5 moment. You know what I mean? Like that's not fucking that's not Nathan Drake. That's Venom Snake. That's Venom Drake or whatever.
I mean, this movie was filmed during a time when Tom Holland was
no. I mean, he's still
well known.
He's still
I
this
mean, he's
huge
still a well-known actor, but
I assume it was done because like Spider-Man is under Sony, right? For the MCU, I think it's under Sony still, and then
Makes
Tom
sense.
Holland is under contract with Sony. But like the only real miscast is fucking Mark Wahlberg. That's it. Like
so, I started looking up some people that were being looked at for the role. Bryan Cranston, Woody Harrelson.
we gotta stop cat.
Woody.
Did you say Chris Pine?
Yeah.
I like Chris Pine, but I mean now he could because he looks homeless. I don't know if you guys have seen Chris Pine recently. That motherfucker, he's looking beat up. He's looking beat the fuck up.
Actually, the last one on the list was Matthew McConaughey, and I probably see that one the most.
I kind of thought like this movie was like going to be more like Sahara. I don't know if you guys ever watched those films, but it was like Matthew McConaughey, Steve, is it Steve Zahn? I can't remember. Steve
Zane.
Yeah. I was like, the movie wasn't great, but I was like, you know what? That was kind of like what I thought it would be. It was less like cartoonish too. Like you can make an action adventure film and not get into the wonky antics. You know what I mean? As hard as you did. I mean, listen.
Actually, who they should have casted was Nicolas Cage, and then just do a bunch of references to National.
I want Nicolas Cage to be the villain in fucking the second movie, and just have him just the entire time talk about how much better National Treasure.
They have to
just make him have a cameo where he's in the background actually doing National Treasure stuff,
stealing the fucking Declaration of Independence. He's like, "What are you doing here? Get away from me, Drake boy. We used to work together." That type of stuff. That'd have been a weird cameo.
Something I read was this movie was actually a response to Tom Holland pitching a young James Bond movie to Sony, and this was like their compromise.
We just should. He could have been a really good young James Bond. I mean, it's either him or Timothy Chalamet or whatever. I don't know. Like that. It's the only one they're looking at. Yeah, I mean, like to me, it's I was kind of shocked the movie was so. I mean, I'm assuming it's because of Tom Holland. Like it was so successful. Like made $400 million, enough to get a sequel. I mean, I always have hope because I can't remember what other movies Ruben Fleischer did. Let me see. I think he did. Oh, he did Zombieland. Yeah, he did Zombieland and Venom and Gangster Squad. It was okay, but he did the Zombieland films. Like I was like, okay, the dude has like chops doing that type of stuff, like action films. But it just felt like so many different missteps along the way. Like where it got went from generic adventure film to like, holy shit, what are we doing here? But you can't. But like I said, you can't shut your mind off at the end because you didn't establish what this type of film was going to be from the beginning. If they had established it to be like Looney Tunes like physics, I would have been like, all right, cool. This is the type of fucking weird film we're gonna watch. But
so they were in the crypt area. It was right after the water flood, and they were stuck in the little compartment. They were about to die. I was like, there has not been like a large action sequence up to this point, other than when he jumped on the chandeliers and somehow didn't shatter the light bulbs that he was holding on to. But
yeah,
I was like,
would have been the perfect Hitman movie.
I was like, outside of that, this has basically just been a nondescript Indiana Jones movie. Like
Correct,
they've just been figuring out puzzles the entire time. And then there's the airplane scene, and then just from there onward, it's like, okay, are we in a different dimension now? Like, is he actually Spider-Man?
Do you guys remember when Sonic went to that different dimension in the first movie? Right, that's essentially what the last 30 fucking minutes of this was. You know what I mean? Like we're straight up hitting like video game territory. You know, I mean, at least they didn't have. I don't think they had a moment where like Tom Holland was a crack shot with a gun, which would have been like very funny if he was. That would have been. I would have been fucking laughing if they pull like the James Bond thing where James Bond just kind of turns and hits a guy. It's like I don't think that's how that works, bro. He's like behind bushes and cover. You're hitting him perfectly in between the eyes. You know. But like I said, like if I, for me, when I had heard that they were making an adaptation for Uncharted, I was like, this could be either really good or really bad. And honestly, I just think it was okay.
Yeah,
So
it wasn't horrible.
it wasn't like a horrible film, but like once again, like if I shut my mind off, like maybe I could have found it more enjoyable, but I just feel like there's just way too many scenes where like conversations went nowhere, you know? Or like there was like just complete like an absence of logic in certain areas. Like you can't just go from one emotion to the other, or like you try to have all these different fake outs. It just doesn't work like that. And like I mean, like Jack was saying, the ship scene that looked really fucking cool. It's just like, shouldn't it break apart? Like, what are we, Pirates of the Caribbean right now? Like, what is going on with this shit? Because in Uncharted 4, like they actually do find a pirate ship, but there's no lifting up out of it. They just find the gold, and then they end up having like this really dramatic fight near the end of it, and the ship ends up catching on fire and stuff like that, right? It's actually a really cool fucking scene. But I mean, this I really felt like they were just like, how do we hit our bullshit set piece quota? Like, let's what are we at, 2 right now? We got to get the third one. Let's fucking do this. The other thing is, Brad, when you brought up the catacombs, when they were drowning, why did Chloe go away? What was her thought process? Like, I was like, I literally, dude, in my brain I was like, yeah, she's like next to him, like trying to push up, right, trying to assist him instead of pulling on a grate that I'm assuming you've already tried. Why are you leaving him at like the only place you'd survive at? I thought that was funny as shit. She's like just floating there. I was like, oh no. And then he grabbed her and like, come on, wake up. And she's like, ah.
He's like, please, please.
And I'm like, where's the
the
brain damage? That's like 5 minutes unconscious, dude. Look what's going on here.
That's a form of CPR.
Yeah, I know.
In
shaking
that world.
shaking someone up with their head tilted back.
The one goof of the movie I saw was when the first cutaway they did. So like he pulled her up, and then the first time the camera moved, her hair was dry. It was kind of hard to tell, but her hair changed. Her hair was actually dry.
That's right.
After she was pulled up out of the water.
That's right. I remember that. I was like, you know what?
I was like, man, she's got some.
She wears that spray that you can spray on materials.
A hydrophobic spray.
Yeah.
Why was her hair not floating in the water?
I know.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't fucking know, man. You know, I'm not trying to fucking make stuff.
Yeah.
I was telling Brad before. I was like, I kind of expect Braddock to be back. You know, it's like, let's never mind the fact that she got hit by gold. That 80-pound gold backpack fell 100 feet into the water. Okay, it didn't break any bones.
Okay,
and then was able to look up at the ship while she wasn't unconscious, floating. And like, so the ship lands, but I'm like, you know what? With the way this movie's works, she could technically just like swim under it and then pull up from the side or some shit.
All
dude.
she had to do was this, and then she goes down with the ship. Right?
I would not be surprised if she survives and shows up in the next film. I would not be shocked.
I know what happens.
Go ahead.
A shark comes by, bites her, and she comes back in the next movie, but she's missing half a leg.
I was gonna say she's Shark Girl.
she's got a machine gun.
God. Damn, we're doing like,
oh my god,
that's a deep cut right there. That's fucking, was it Planet Terror? Yeah, it's Planet Terror.
Yeah.
I think
didn't Sucker Punch have something like that too?
Yeah, I think that's the one.
Let's not get Zack Snyder into fucking any more goddamn movies, dude. Fuck that guy. Yeah, I mean, like, if I would say, like, if I looked at Uncharted, I would say, like, I'd give you a 6. Like, you weren't like a total like piece of shit film. You did enough to, I guess Tom Holland did enough rather to get to merit a sequel. But the thing is, I don't think it wasn't well received critically. It's at a 40% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think if you just make like, and that's really crazy because we've kind of been more accepting of video game films when they're just kind of like batshit crazy, unless you're Borderlands. And if you watch Borderlands, the fuck is wrong with you? But with Uncharted, it's like, okay, maybe the sequel will, finally we get to the point where it's like we're following the game. You know, we get to Uncharted 1 and then we move on from there because that's what it looked like. I just don't know though. Like, I'm kind of curious to see because I think Ruben Fleischer, he directed Zombieland 1 and 2, and I liked Double Tap, but it wasn't as good as the first one. I thought Venom Let There Be Carnage was better than the first one. So, I mean, like, there's I like Woody Harrelson, man.
I mean, no.
I think
I
there's
like the movie.
yeah, I think there's potential for there to be like at least there's room for growth. Like you should be going up. Now if they come out with a sequel and it's absolute shit, I'll be shocked. Because guys, they nailed Sonic the Hedgehog, right? We all saw the fucking third trailers. Everyone seen it?
Yes.
That third trailer's amazing. What the fuck, dude? I don't
It looks
know.
really good.
I don't know what they're on, but the leap in like visuals from 2 to 3 is insane.
Yeah.
Plus Keanu Reeves
and
as
they
Shadow.
did what I hoped they'd do, where I was hoping that they made it to where Robotnik gained weight.
Where he looked like a big old chunker. I like how they fucking put him in a headlock to like cut his to shave his head. That shit was so funny. I need material. We don't have any more. He rips it off his shirt. Material. I'm kind of hoping that like, you know, at least for the next Uncharted film, like at least we know what type of like action to expect. Like it's going to be very over the top, very cartoonish. And like if you're gonna dive into that, like at least dig deep and like dig into it, you know. And don't be afraid to show blood, by the way.
Recasting the same.
Yeah, I mean,
Mike,
of course Tom Holland's gonna be in it.
What do they do to top that though? That's my question.
I mean, Uncharted 2 has probably this really dope ass train scene where like so if you watch a number of like movies right now, like I think Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, it's the most recent one, Dead Reckoning. There's a scene where they have like a train where it's like hanging off like an edge and stuff like that, and the guy's like climbing up. Uncharted 2 had such like huge set pieces that like movies took set pieces from Uncharted 2. Like that's how influential that game was.
I know what's gonna happen.
What's gonna happen?
There's gonna be a scene where there's gonna be treasure on the fucking moon, right?
This isn't Fast and Furious.
They're gonna have a rocket. Hold on. There's gonna be a rocket, and Nate's gonna climb on the side of the rocket as it's shooting up towards the moon. No spacesuit or anything, and he's just gonna be okay.
And he's gonna fall off as he's
because he has his ring.
Yeah,
he has his ring around his neck.
He's gonna fall off. He's gonna be like near death, right? He's falling off, and then his brother's gonna shake. He's gonna catch him in midair. No parachute. In the water. He survives that soft landing.
I knew you would find me.
I knew you'd find me on a jet ski where the jet ski barely moves. Gotcha, Drake. It's like, dude, how did his body not just fucking turn into mist?
No, he's gonna land perfectly into the water, like one of those divers in the Olympics, right? No splash.
No splash.
And as he's hitting the deep part of the water, he sees the ship. He's gonna see the ship that sank from the first movie.
And just like, dude,
and that's where we see Braddock.
And just like the Meg, right, with Jason Statham.
Yeah.
And just like the Meg 2, if you don't watch that movie, it's fucking terrible. I saw it on like HBO or whatever. But he's 25,000 feet underwater, and he just goes out to swim between areas without any gear on. So I'm like, how is he not crushed to pulp? You know how he does it? He breathed the oxygen through his nose.
I mean, it's logical.
It makes fucking sense, you know? It's not that his head won't explode by the depressurization. But that's how Drake survives it. Like, dude, they have a whole, like, Uncharted 3 has, like, a whole, like, massive, like, cruise ship scene that's insane. It's fucking fantastic. Like, there's, like, as long as, like, once again, if they had established that's how the film was going to be, I think we all would have accepted it, right? I mean, Brad would have been like, that don't make no sense, right? But it is a video game film.
Yeah, they should have started it just like Shoot 'em Up.
Oh, dude, if it
God,
started...
dude, with the fucking carrots, dude, that's a deep cut, by the way. Jack, good job. Has anyone watched Shoot 'em Up? That's when Clive.
That's a great movie.
That's when Clive Owen was like in his bag. I think from like 2004 to like 2010, he was in like every fucking movie I can think of.
And let me tell you how dumb I am.
Yeah,
I thought that movie was an actual action movie.
You are fucking stupid.
I thought it was an action movie the whole time. I was like, this is really fucking stupid.
Why are they eating carrots and shit? And he's like,
I didn't realize it was a shooter parody.
Yeah, oh my god, that movie. I don't know how they got Paul Giamatti to be the villain, but they did. But no, I mean, I
just want to see. I want to see a scene where they're doing a car chase, and the bad guys on a motorcycle, and they're in a jeep, and they take a shortcut, and they grind down a bunch of stairs, and they like drift.
What movie
and
was
smack
that where you were talking about the Argyle when they did that? They grinded the Jeep. So like, here's the thing: if Mission Impossible, which gets increasingly crazy with every iteration, can make an action film that is not only like cartoonish but really thrilling because they do like add a level of realism to it, like, you know, maybe Tom Cruise is fucking crazy enough to jump off a cliff and parachute onto a train at high speeds and not die, you know what I mean? Maybe we can pull that off, but I don't think they'll ever nail that because the CGI, like by Brett, the CGI in this movie was, you know, it ranged from okay to oh my god, that's the Rubber Man. Why is Gumby attacking me at this moment in time? But yeah, so I think, what would you give Uncharted, Jack? Yeah.
5.
5? Brad? I think, am I more?
5.5.
Okay. So I was like, oh,
5.5.
we're on the, I was thinking like we'd be a little more different. Like usually Brad's a little bit nicer, more lenient. I guess I was a lenient one this time.
I mean, I probably would give it a 6, but I wanted to be
I
in
wouldn't
the
go any
middle.
higher than that.
Yeah.
Like I said, like, okay, if the name wasn't Uncharted and his name wasn't Nathan Drake, like if it wasn't tied to an actual IP of any sort, I'd have been like, okay, that's a generic action movie that's trying to replicate Indiana Jones, right?
Yeah.
But like, you throw in some cameos, you throw in some tie-ins to other things that you also like, and it's like, all right, it's
And
it's a
also,
little bit better.
can we embrace like a little bit of blood? Like you slit Antonio Banderas' throat and like there's no blood. There's like a red line.
No, it's
Like,
not dripping anywhere.
yeah, come on
Yeah.
now.
Like even when Tom Holland went into the room like 10 minutes later, there's still no blood anywhere.
Yeah, I thought I was
You
thinking
know,
like, you know, now you could put like a little blood pool. Like, it doesn't have to be a big
yeah.
one. Just a little one right
He
there.
was so old, his blood coagulated immediately.
I know. His blood just like, you know, we got to stop off screening people. Like we can dig in a little bit more in terms of the violence, but yeah, all right. Just want to make sure. All right, so what's the next film on the list? I mean, we can ask your chat if they want to, you know, whoever's watching, right? If they want to, we want to do a.
We were going to talk about fan films.
Yeah. Well, we can do fan films or we can do Mortal Kombat,
Which one?
the old one.
All of them.
I
Oh my
I
God, the
kind of
old one.
want to watch the first Mortal Kombat and then Mortal Kombat Annihilation, the second
Yeah.
one, which is god awful. Just to
I'd be okay with that.
We're gonna be okay. Okay, we can do the Mortal Kombat films next. So for anime, for down the rabbit hole, Jack, it's your turn. And I know, you know, you have a pretty supportive chat. They just don't know that your taste is fucking atrocious. So let's talk about.
Oh, what was on my list? Let me see
I
here.
don't know.
Let me look. Watch list. I came across 86.
Ooh, that's a good one.
86 and oh my, that's so many.
We even watched the first 12.
Oh, I thought you were just saying like 86 different animes.
Oh,
Never
no.
Shut the fuck up.
He fucking knew what I was talking about.
I mean, I didn't know what it was, but I could have context clued it, you know.
I could have tried.
I mean, it's got 21 and a half episodes.
Yeah. No, it's a critically acclaimed show. I was gonna say also the reason why I gave it a 6 instead of a 5 for Uncharted was because the Philippines were mentioned. You know, Philippines.
Yeah, our brethren.
Philippines. Yeah.
Somebody said Wistoria is good.
Yeah, I was telling Brad about that. So Wistoria is it's Mashal but serious. You know,
And that just ruins it for me.
Like the animation though in that is absolutely tremendous. So I was very surprised by the first couple episodes. But yeah, Wistoria. If you
All
want.
right. So Wistoria 86 or Tower of God?
Chibi's gonna say no to Tower of God. She hates that fucking show. Well, she hates the character in that show. I think we can do 86.
86. All right, let's do 86.
So I'm gonna caution
We watching
you.
half of it or the whole thing?
Do 12 episodes, dude.
12.
I say we watch until for like our tolerance of it. So Jack, but before we close the podcast out, what did you think of the Elusive Samurai? Like,
there's only so much I can watch.
I can't read this motherfucker.
I have issues with focusing on watching it and having to read the fucking
Do
thing.
you have anything to
I have
say?
ADHD brain, bro.
Do you have anything, dude? I have to mute that now. Thank you, Fred. Jack, why would you have anything to say to Chibi after she insulted you during the episode?
I'm sure it was with love.
It was not. It was not. I didn't think she would participate, but when we started talking about it, she's like, yeah, you can't read. I was like, damn, dude. Like, God damn, she got mad.
I was very hurt about Brandon being called up to replace me.
It's been a long time coming,
I know. It was bound to happen.
We keep all options open here at Pixelated. All right. So we'll do 86, and then we'll do Mortal Kombat. And then I think I'm
both. I think I'm first one and Annihilation.
Yeah, I think I'm on vacation after that. I'm in Canada, so we don't have to do a podcast episode for like 2 weeks.
Good.
Yeah. Well, Brad will be playing Aelin. What the fuck is that game, Brad? Damn it. Aelin Tavern.
Aelin Tales.
Aelin Tales, yeah. Which is this really cool like tavern simulator with fucking adventure elements. And then I'll be playing me and Brad will also be playing Space Marine 2. Yeah! I might get the deluxe edition for that, dude. I might drop $90, my god.
Livid had mentioned that the art in Wistoria was very reminiscent of Code Geass.
Yeah. No, what like
if only I knew what that was.
I don't know what that is.
Code Geass is probably like it's in a lot of people's top 10. Fantastic anime. I would say like the faces, the heads and stuff are not as exaggerated, but I get what he's saying with the eyes and stuff like that. The animation in that though, like Wistoria, just watch the first episode. It is dubbed. That's for your viewing pleasure, Jack. It is phenomenal. Like I did not expect it to be as detailed as it is. I was very shocked because I saw a lot of reviews online. People were like, dude, watch Wistoria. And I was like, okay, yeah. And I was like, holy shit, who animated this? This is amazing. I think it's a studio I've never heard of, but they do a really good job kind of blending like 3D animation and hand drawn. It's fantastic. So there is that. But I think that's all we got, right? And then what else we got after this? I saw your Halloween list, Jack. Like we can you want to touch on that before we hop off? Like what are you gonna be playing?
Oh yeah, so
let the people know.
This Halloween.
All right, that's enough of that.
I may be in the UK at the last week of October, but
good.
What I plan on.
Hold on. What are you doing out there in London? In it
work
Tuesday.
In it. But I plan on playing Welcome to Kowloon, Paranoia Place, possibly Guilt,
Love that
Madison.
Game.
Martha's Dead. I'm gonna have to have trigger warnings for that one.
Censor it, yeah, probably.
Phasmo and Bigfoot.
And we're also gonna play together the Outlast Trials. Probably on break. It'll be fun because like the Outlast Trials have added a bunch of new shit, so it'll be like a new adventure. That'd be fun. Brad, are you gonna start streaming again?
I could stream twice.
I could see it in his bones, bro. I could see like for some reason he's
proud of him.
He's trying to hit the quota like right now. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I'm trying to knock out the rest of the year.
Yeah, he streamed within a week of each other.
Yeah, well, so it was a Sunday, and then I missed a Sunday, and then Sunday, and then a Sunday.
I think you streamed 3 times.
Brad, I think I want to do a joint impressions for Star Wars Outlaw. Because we've been playing the game, so we can kind of like talk about
I saw some glitches.
Our time with it so far, it's definitely.
You guys been experiencing the bugs?
It's okay.
I haven't experienced any bugs in that game so far, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, it kind of reminds me of Watch Dogs a little bit with some of the stealth mechanics and
Yeah.
stuff. You know.
Yeah.
There are things I don't like, and we'll probably. I think we should be able to record it this weekend, Brad, if you have time. But there are some things I really like about the game, and there's things I just like. It's just okay, you know.
Yeah.
Like you should be
Yeah.
more excited. I would definitely not
Yeah.
spend full price on it. Like if you get
It was
Ubisoft
just
Plus for $18, you know.
Yeah.
What I mean?
Yeah, it's just a totally different experience. I was expecting like a kind of like a Star Wars GTA type of scenario, like where you're just like you're Han Solo and you're just doing, you know, the single-handed, you know, robberies and thefts, and you know, you're just making a name for yourself. But it's much more story driven. It's much more of a
This character, me and Brad are going to talk about this probably. She's the type of character who fails upward a lot. Where shit just, I'm serious, dude. Like she's not qualified to do any of this shit. Like everything that's happening, it feels like she's by complete luck. And on top of that, you have a pet, Nyx, who's your partner in crime. It's like this little coat, whatever the fuck it is.
Little alien thing.
Yeah.
Oxalotl. It's a land oxalotl. Yeah.
Where they do everything for you. They distract enemies. They can steal. They can attack enemies. All that shit. They can actually they'll like blow up shit too, on your behalf. They're fucking. If you want to do a stealth mission, you can absolutely run right through people because of him. So there's that. But yeah, that's something we'll be working on. Probably we'll have that out like next week or something. But I got nothing else. Anybody got anything? Jack, good.
No, I'm hoping Uncharted 2 will be slightly better.
Can you trim that beard?
No, I'm gonna let it grow.
You're gonna let it grow. You're gonna pull the Chris out. Have you ever seen?
I'm gonna see how long this beard can get through the winter.
Have you ever seen Chris's like homeless beard? Have you ever?
I haven't.
Dude, no. I think it was like chest level almost.
I just bought a beard comb, so
yeah. No, I'm talking like it was. Brad, you remember that? Like his beard when he had like hobo long.
I'm trying to think.
Looked like a hobo wizard.
How long it is? If
I remember it being long. I don't remember it being that long.
It looked like he looked like a hobo wizard.
I remember his man bun. I didn't like that. That was
yeah, that fucking. He's had like a midlife crisis in front of us. Like, can you just settle that shit down? My gosh. That is gonna do it for this episode of Pixelated Thoughts. Shibi will be back on for Down the Rabbit Hole because it is her fucking show. So we'll be watching 86 next week, and then after that we'll do Mortal Kombat 1 and 2. If you have any suggestions for us, let us know. This episode will be out on Friday. And that's all we got. So Brad, why don't you sign us out? I won't interrupt you this time, I promise.
That's all, folks. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
I'd do it real fast. Can't interrupt if you don't know what's happening.